Well, hello, Gov Seekers. How are you? How much seeking of your governing do you want to do today? I bet you it's a lot. I bet you want to seek a lot of governmenting. I don't know tell me if the air conditioner is really loud. I don't have to use it much in my building, in my unit, but we're in a little bit of a heat wave here in SoCal. So I got my air conditioner on. So there's like a humming. I'll turn it off and you'll just watch me sweat like we're in a sweat lodge. But maybe we need that today. Maybe we need a little sweat lodge. Holly Horn is our moderator, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, Gov Seeks. Yeah, I have not been live streaming as much. I'm getting ready to go on a tour to Asia. I have a million things to take care of, so it'll be on my website soon. But I'm going to be at the Bitcoin Hong Kong conference next week, and then the Bitcoin conference in Bali in September, and then I've got shows in Thailand in September, and I'll probably be announcing more shows throughout Asia in September and October. So here it is. Yes, look at that government secrets mug. You don't hear it. Good. No sweaty Superman girl today. I'm due for a haircut, guys. We're getting a little shaggy over the ears, but we're going to get it dialed in. Don't worry about it. I know you guys are freaking out. It's all right. Am I going to join ICE? I was thinking about it. They pay well. It's good hours, like kind of pick your own schedule. I mean, it's good exercise. God, I can't even make that joke. It's so horrible. ICE is good. It's good exercise. You're working outside. It's great. You violating people's civil liberties, and you get to be on the wrong side of history. It's a blast. I'm excited to do it. All right. Speaking of things that I'm excited to do that are on the wrong side of history. No, there's shows on the right side of history. All right, guys, buckle up. You guys better be ready. You better be ready for some gov seeking. Oh shit, I forgot to get this thing set up. Hold on. YouTube's okay. Boom. No, we want studio there. Okay. Oh, hit the like button, guys. Hit the subscribe button. Share this out on your social media. All those little things help our show. They help. The analytics help, even though we're constantly being censored. We're streaming it on Lee Camp's YouTube channel. So like and subscribe to his channel if you haven't already done that. And then like mine and subscribe to mine. And we're also streaming on my new YouTube channel, which is Bitcoin Hollywood. So we only have 40 some subscribers. So go over to Bitcoin Hollywood and subscribe. That'll help, because my other channel, of course, has been insanely censored. And it's youtube.com/ at Bitcoin Hollywood. So please check that out. All right, here we go. Get ready. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Government Secrets, episode 186, with the two most censored comedians in America, Pierce Morgan and Bill Maher. Oh, whoops.
Wow, no, I've never gotten a more offensive intro in my life than that one right there. You just did it. First of all, I can't hear your air conditioning at all. But then again, I keep you muted during most of this show. Secondly, I've got my crab mug not available on our Patreon.
That's wow, right. A crab mug.
There's a crab there. Yeah.
So is that just like you guys went to the Maryland? Does Maryland have a coast?
It's got a few coasts. Yeah. Baltimore's on the water.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, there was a big battle here. In fact, oh my God, I saw it in the So they're big into crabs, both the STI and the ones you eat. But I saw it on the license plates the other day here in Baltimore. Literally the license plate said Baltimore, War of 1812. Literally a war we lost. We've got a war we lost on the license plates. You and I did a government secrets on it. We lost the War of 1812. We basically declared it, lost all the battles except for a couple, didn't gain anything, then declared it over. And our biggest win was in New Orleans after we'd already declared it over, but they didn't get the message. So,
and then we just kind of said in American style, yep, we won. Big victory.
War of 1812. Goddamn right. Yes. Like we're like a eunuch with truck nuts on the back of our truck. Come on. War of 1812 and truck nuts hanging from the truck.
That's great. It's like Southerners who love the Confederate flag. It's like, you guys know you lost. You know that you lost that war, right? Like,
South rise again, my friend.
Oh, good luck.
And by that, we mean we're going to get those wheels back on the motorhome. We're going to get it running here any minute now. Sure, it's been up on blocks for a few years now, but that doesn't mean won't get going again. The South has been on blocks. It's been on blocks for a while now.
And by the South will rise again, it's the rest of the country is getting up on blocks. And it's the South is not rising. The rest of the country, it's all going to be one.
Right. By the South will rise again, we mean we're going to bring the rest of the country down to our level.
Everyone's going to be, the whole country is going down to levels of third world poverty. Mm-hmm. And
so I have, since we often spend the first 20 minutes, talking about not our topics, I thought I'd actually, generally our shirts and our haircuts, but
it's now time for not our topics.
Do you think the podcast would be doing better if we had some truth in advertising and it was called Lee and Graham Shirts and Haircuts?
With some government stuff.
Government stuff comes later. But I'm sorry. I could have made fun of this on my own live stream alone, but I felt like I need you with me. Trump, did everybody see this? Trump has decided he's painting the wall black at the southern border. I'm going to show a video. There they are. These fucking idiots with their fucking rollers out there. They did a promo event, like painting the wall black.
Oh, this idiot. Oh, Kristi Loam, she's out there with her. Oh,
yep. They went down there to do a promo event, painting the wall black at the southern border, because Trump says, in all of his brilliance, and he is a goddamn smart guy, he said that it would be hotter, so it would stop them from climbing it. Yeah, because if you've made the trek through the desert towards what the wall that you know is there, no one brought gloves, like no one has on shoes. What does he think they're just nude running up to this wall?
Yeah, and I love that, like, just typical of a dumb, fat American white person, that has no concept of what real heat is. Like, the people escape, they're coming from, Central America, pretty hot where they're coming from.
And they've just gone through a desert,
desert, and they're going north where it's going to be cooler. Like, I think they're going to be okay with your wall. And then Kristi Loam or whatever, he just and then put it because she used to be a stripper, I think, right?
Oh, did she? So she knows poles and heat, yeah.
And wet surfaces, yeah.
Hot surfaces,
hot, sticky, wet surfaces, yeah. She's really.
Do you have any idea how even just the part they've put up, which is not obviously the full southern border, but how long? Like, how many fucking man hours are going to be put into painting this thing? And the people that have gotten to the wall and gotten over it, because those are the only ones he's concerned about, right? He's not, if you're painting the wall black to make it hotter, you're not concerned with the people that went to the areas where there's no wall. You're not concerned with the people who, have some other, digging under it or whatever. You're concerned with the people that are literally climbing it. And for those people, they've gone all this way. They didn't have any kind of plan, like a rope or a ladder. They just walked up to the wall and said, "Oh shit!" Like, I don't.
Come on,
How many people? How many people is this literally going to turn away?
Yeah.
Oh, it's black. Oh,
and so these people who like they squirrel away their last whatever dollars. They get some coyote, and the coyote's like, when we get to the wall, just climb up that bad boy. Like, I'm pretty sure they probably have a tunnel or another way around, or they're hiding in a truck or something. They're not like climbing. And again, oh, so glad we're painting this dumb wall when I'm driving through streets that have, potholes. Don't address the homeless problem that we have nationwide in America. Let's do this.
No, they're harassing and arresting them more than they used to be.
Yeah, that's great.
That should do it. That should fix capitalism. I think Marx said this. He said, all my critiques of capitalism can be fixed if you just beat the homeless.
Beat the homeless and paint a dumb wall.
Yeah,
I think the wall. Was the last chapter? I think it was the last chapter where he said that.
I think painting it black would have as much impact as painting go away across it. I think they have equivalent amount of impact.
I can't, this is something a friend said to me, and America's obviously going down a very precarious path, and Trump is awful. Liberals don't want to pay it. They either aren't aware or they refuse to accept that. We've talked about this on both of our shows for years. Obama and Clinton, but mainly Obama, gave Trump this like dictator playbook. They passed all these laws to allow him to do this.
Surveillance, everything else, going after whistleblowers, endless war without any congressional approval. You could go down the list, trillions of dollars in the Pentagon with no accountability for it, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, dictator's toolkit, handed to him. Here you go. And what Trump is doing is I always said Trump is just the most vulgar version of what previous presidents have done, right? He just does the things these other guys have done. Obama was nicknamed the deporter in chief by the media. I didn't come up with that name. But Trump just does the most egregious version. And, some people are like, oh man, this is exactly what was happening in Nazi Germany with ICE and everything like that, which is like, yeah, this is not good. But then a friend of mine said, the Nazis were pretty smart. I don't see this group being as smart as them. Like, I don't see like Kristi Loam up there with their are there people behind the scenes pulling the strings that are probably pretty evil and nefarious? Absolutely. But like Trump and his team, when I hear him or these other dipshits talk, like that dumb East Coast meathead that's like, they come after my ICE agents, we're declaring war. That mope, like JD Vance, these people seem like, yeah, they're well,
really dumb.
In one regard, yeah, they're what was my term for them? Idiopaths. They're idiot sociopaths, and some of his political inclinations are pretty good, such as he is quite good at creating distractions that the country will fall for, the media will fall for. I think they may get back to the Epstein thing, but he's done a pretty good job of, now that he's had a meeting with Putin in Alaska, and he literally has sent sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the National Guard to DC, 5 weeks of Trump's own base calling him out for the Epstein thing. He was like, here's catnip for my base. Go round up the brown people in the cities. Like
military patrol in DC. He sent battleships to Venezuela. And it's working. At first he tried and it didn't work, but like those type of things, he's quite good at getting people to stop talking about the things he doesn't want them to. So it's not that he's a complete political idiot, but just in a lot of ways, he's fucking dumb. I mean, he can barely read. Like there's people who worked at SNL when he was, and SNL works off of cue cards. They don't memorize it all. And he couldn't really do it. Like he was having a lot of trouble because he can't read the cue cards. This is not a bright man in certain regards, but in terms of how to amass power, in certain ways, he's rather savvy at that.
Yes, very savvy. I mean, he knows how to run elections. He knows how to get people wound up. He knows how to distract. He knows how to feed his base. And
he knows how to stop those immigrants from climbing that goddamn wall
with black paint.
They can't. It's basically Home Alone. He's going to put some Matchbox cars outside of that wall. He's going to put some tacks. I think that's next. We're going to have tacks glued. We're going to glue 80 billion tacks pointed out on the front of that wall so that you try and climb it. You're getting a tack right in the hand.
And this is such a like dumb old man.
Graham's not sure what tacks are. Tacks, Graham, are these things that you can hold up banners that are behind you. If you need
well, let's see. Here we go. Now you're very anti-tape, and you attack the pro tape community, Lee. And I'm just, this is where you've tape shamed me for years now, and I just don't know that I can handle it.
I didn't mean to bring up a sore subject. I'm very sorry about that.
For the record, these are tacks. I've used your
Hey, he gave in.
I've succumbed to your wacky cult of text or whatever.
He succumbed to the tack attack. Yes, he did.
I'll never forget that moment where you were like, and you were like, how about tax? And I was like, oh, like
the look on your face was priceless.
Like this Lee Camp with his new technology. I just wasn't aware of how a tax works.
I think it was your green juice surfer dude sympathy. Like you didn't want to hurt the wall. I think that's what
exactly. You are murdering stucco. You know what I mean?
Murdering stucco. Yes.
You're puncturing. Paint is a living, breathing organism. Lee, and you're hurting.
Yes, you're puncturing history because that wall's seen some shit.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, and it's not like tacks are available in every store, like grocery stores, like
in fact, every store where Graham went to get new and exotic tapes to try on his banner, there were tacks
all over.
There were tacks sitting next to it. Yeah. He's like, "What's the strongest tape you've ever carried?"
And they're like, sir, we do have tacks. I don't want to hear your crazy voodoo. Just give me your tack. Just give me tape. Oh,
okay. I guess we better do a government secrets topic.
We should probably actually do the thing we're supposed to be doing. Yep, let's do it.
You going first, or am I going first?
Yours is more current. Yours sounds fun. Okay,
let's do it. Yell episode 1 in a funny voice. Segment 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for segment 1, sponsored by the TAC Commission of the United States.
So, everybody's heard of this Ukraine war that's going on. Well, we're going to go back a little farther. We, of course, have already on this show and on our live streams covered the fact that the proxy war in Ukraine didn't start in 2022. It's kind of started in 2014. If you're talking about when people were first murdered because of it, 2013, 2014, you got the Maidan coup, you got thousands being killed in the Donbass region. And this comes right up to today because one of the things that Putin said in his meeting with Trump is that when they do finally sit down at a peace table, Putin will be basically demanding the Donbass region and Crimea and other things. But this all goes back much further in time than that. And I didn't really know all these details until I read this recent article by Kit Clarenberg. But I will also just throw in here some more topical news that the latest polling shows that Ukrainian support for continuing to fight, continuing to just throw thousands of people into the machinery of war. Even Ukrainians are now not supporting that aspect of it anymore. When this thing started 2022, you had 4% of Ukrainians saying we're going to fight. We're going to fight against Russia. Right. Nowadays, 24% of Ukrainians still say we should keep fighting. And that's from Gallup, extensive polling. And the other one is Ukraine, the idea that Ukraine should seek a negotiated peace, a negotiated end to the war. In 2022, it was only 22%. Now it's 69%. Basically, complete reversal. Even Ukrainians. So if you are one of these people who thinks that we are supporting this endless death cycle to help Ukrainians and do what they want, even they don't want this anymore.
Wow.
Those days are over. But here's how this goes back way before even 2014. In August 1957, the CIA secretly drew up elaborate plans for an invasion of Ukraine by U.S. Special Forces. So this is obviously during the Soviet Union. This is during the Cold War. This is during the time when America was doing everything it could to fight the communists because they wanted capitalism to win out over communism, which it essentially has. It was hoped at that time, 1957, that the neighborhood anti-communist agitators would be mobilized as foot soldiers to assist in the effort. And we have done segments before on what some of those anti-communist agitators were called, because there was a large U.S. and NATO program, Operation Gladio, also called the Left Behind units, where after World War II, the U.S. and Britain left stockpiles of weapons, which were much harder to get back then, and funding for these fascist, right-wing, often neo-Nazis to go and kill communist leaders, etc. But this goes beyond what I'm talking about right now. It goes beyond just that aspect of it.
Which we've covered on this show, just to give people back. We've covered this Operation Bloodstone, I believe, was how we backed Nazis to fight communists in post-World War II. That we did a segment on that.
Yep. That and Operation Gladio. Yep. A detailed 200-page report called Resistance Factors and Special Forces Areas set out demographic, economic, geographical, historical, and political factors throughout the then Soviet Socialist Republic that could facilitate or impede Washington's quest to ignite local insurrection and, in turn, the USSR's ultimate collapse. So basically, it's an extensive report by the CIA to find the areas within the Soviet Union, within the Soviet bloc, that were more likely or less likely to turn on the Soviet Union and collapse it. The long history of the union between Russia and Ukraine, which stretches in an almost unbroken line from 1654, mid-1600s, to the present day, resulted in many Ukrainians having adopted the Russian way of life. And I've talked about this before, but this is why many Ukrainians, especially in Donbass and Crimea and other places, but many Ukrainians essentially consider themselves Russian. They speak Russian. They have Russian. Some of them have dual passports. They have family in Russia, because there was a long stretch where that border didn't mean much or anything. It may not have even been defined exactly, but so they just all viewed themselves as Russian. And then one day there's a border there, and they kind of, go back and forth across it fairly often, and they don't think much of it. Then the border gets more and more solidified, and then all of a sudden they're not allowed to see their family, and now they're essentially a Russian in Ukraine.
And look, Russians have Ukrainian family members. Ukrainians have Russian family members. Like, I know anybody I know of Russian descent just about has some Ukrainian family or something.
And even apparently, not that I would be able to tell, but apparently Zelensky speaks pretty shitty Ukrainian. Apparently Russian is his first language.
Right.
But so many of the Ukrainians had a Russian way of life. Problematically for the U.S., there was thus a pronounced lack of resistance to the Soviet rule among the population. The great influence of Russian culture over Ukrainians meant there were fewer points of conflict between Ukrainians and Russia than in some other Warsaw Pact nations. Throughout those satellite states, the CIA had to varying success already recruited clandestine networks of quote-unquote freedom fighters as anti-communist fifth columnists. So, think about the connection of this to what we've just been doing over the past 10 years in Ukraine. This started back in even before this, but by 1957, the CIA and Britain had defined plans on how to do exactly this. Get Ukrainians and other Warsaw Pact countries fighting against Russia, get nationalists to fight against those who had more allegiance to Russia, etc. Like, this goes back generations.
Yeah, and it's
good.
And part of it is it's always under the guise of, we got to stop the evil communists. And we do need to address, we've talked about this a little bit before. The Soviet Union did say it wanted to dominate the world. It did say that was its thing. And so that was something to be addressed. But come on, it's not about preserving the American way of life. It's about getting a strategic port that you can, have access to, be close to Russia, be able to cause dissent within Russia, and get a strategic port where all of this wheat that you can be, sold all throughout Central Asia and the Middle East and all of these countries that don't have access to that type of agriculture. It's a strategic.
Yeah,
strategic in a lot of ways.
And not just wheat, but gas, minerals, everything in Ukraine to cut off. The U.S. wanted to cut that off from Russia. So that was another aspect of it. But, maybe most importantly, whether you think the Soviet Union had a right to exist or not, this just upends the propaganda that we've heard for at least, 3 years, but really more like 10, 15 years, that let's just talk about 2022 for a minute. 2022, Putin just got a hair up his ass and invaded Ukraine, just out of the blue. What a lunatic. He was just like, I'm bored. Let's invade Ukraine. That was a perfect Vlad impersonation anyway. And I'll tell you what, let's just invade Ukraine. And
it's like the Ernest character. Like Jim Ernest Saves Christmas, like Putin's going to invade.
Ernest Invades Ukraine. That was one of my favorite ones. But yeah, it upends all that propaganda. It's like, oh wait, this has been going on since 1957, but Putin just got the idea yesterday that he wanted Ukraine to be part of Russia, like it had been, and not part of NATO.
I mean, we've talked about this before. It's like Zelensky was saying the West is causing problems and the West needs to just let us handle this. And Putin said, as long as there's not NATO bases, Zelensky said, no NATO bases. We're not going to do that. We'll figure this out amongst Ukrainians and Russians. We'll figure this out. Boris Johnson, then Prime Minister of England, shows up, has some conference behind closed doors with Zelensky. And then Zelensky comes back and says, yep, NATO base. And like 24 hours later, Putin invades. And let us not forget, this has just come to light. You know who went to private school together with Ghislaine Maxwell? Oh, Boris Johnson. That's weird.
Yeah, Ghislaine Maxwell has a fun history.
She's got her whole family's got a great history, really great. Her dad, awesome.
Mossad media mogul.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, important grievances existed, and among other Ukrainians, this is a quote from the CIA's document. Important grievances exist, and among other Ukrainians, there's opposition to Soviet authority, which often has assumed a nationalist form. Under favorable conditions, these people might be expected to assist American special forces in fighting against the regime. A CIA map at the time split Ukraine into 12 separate zones, ranked on resistance potential and how favorable population attitudes are towards the Soviet regime. South and eastern regions, particularly Crimea and Donbass, rated poorly, meaning more allegiance to Russia. Their populations were judged strongly loyal to Moscow, having never displayed nationalist feelings or indicated any hostility to the regime, while viewing themselves as a Russian island in the Ukrainian Sea. In fact, as the study recorded during and after World War I, when Germany created a fascist puppet state in Ukraine, inhabitants of Donbass strongly resisted Ukrainian nationalists, at one point created a separate republic, independent of the rest of Ukraine. So this also speaks to all the people who are like, Putin's out of his mind when he says Donbass should be independent or Crimea should be independent. It's just him wanting to steal more territory. But in fact, whether you support it or not, there's a long history of these areas wanting either their independence or to be part of Russia. Let's see. During the German occupation in the Second World War, there was not a single recorded case of support for Ukrainian nationalists or for Germans. Invading and occupying Crimea was considered of paramount importance to the CIA. On top of its strategic significance, the peninsula's landscape was forecast as ideal for guerrilla warfare. By the way, all of this came true starting in 2014. Areas of Western Ukraine, including former regions of Poland, which were heavily under control of Ukrainian insurgents, adherents of MI6 supported Stepan Bandera. So people who have followed this proxy war have probably heard the name Stepan Bandera. He was a Nazi collaborator and sympathizer, and the Azov battalion now views him, he's not alive anymore, but views him as like their saint. Like they call themselves Banderaites, and they have posters and paintings of him. And in fact, PBS did an interview with one of the mayors of one of the cities in Ukraine about the proxy war and how hard they're fighting against Russia. And PBS must have realized that he had a lovely portrait of Bandera behind him, a Nazi collaborator. And so they blurred out the painting, which just made anyone watching it go, what the fuck's on that painting?
Yeah, that's what I love about our corporate media is just this. Anytime you're like, hey, there's a lot of Nazis in Ukraine that we're backing. America's just like, huh? What? Putin's bad? What'd you say? Yeah, Putin's bad.
Yeah.
You're like,
you just blur out the Nazi behind him, and then I think he's a good guy. Like once you blur that out, he's good, right? You know what? Paint it black. That's our new thing. If we just paint that black,
paint it black. Just
should be fine.
Just put some baby oil on it so it's slippery, and then no one can see it. What? That doesn't make any sense.
It was also determined that Ukrainian nationalist and anti-Soviet sentiment in Kiev was apparently moderately strong, and elements of the population might be expected to provide active assistance to special forces. Again, all of this is a plan for the U.S. to take over Ukraine, which is, by the way, essentially what we've done in many regards, in that U.S. corporations and multinationals now have stolen more Ukrainian land than Russia has taken over. So the U.S. and multinationals have actually stolen more land, stolen more of Ukraine in this war.
Sweet.
The CIA document further offered highly detailed assessments of Ukrainian territory based on their utility to warfare. CIA's invasion plan never formally came to pass. Yet areas of Ukraine forecast by the agency to be most welcoming to U.S. forces were precisely where support of the U.S.-backed Maidan coup was highest in 2014. In a largely unknown chapter of the Maidan coup saga, fascist right sector militants were bussed en masse to Crimea prior to Moscow's seizure of Crimea. Had they succeeded in overrunning the territory, right sector would have fulfilled the CIA's objective, as outlined in their document from 1957. Given what transpired elsewhere in Ukraine following February 2014, other sections of the CIA's report take on a distinctly eerie character. For instance, despite its strategic position facing the Black Sea, the CIA warned against attempting to foment anti-Soviet rebellion in Odessa. The agency noted the city is the most cosmopolitan area of Ukraine and is aligned with Russia. Odessa has developed a less nationalistic character. Historically, it's been considered more Russian. There was little evidence of a nationalist or anti-Russian sentiment. And by the way, Russia, by all accounts, as long as you're not listening to U.S. propaganda, had a legitimate vote in Crimea, and like 90-some% of Crimeans voted to be part of Russia. Now, again, you can say that it doesn't matter whether they voted for that or not, but that's because most of them consider themselves Russian. I mean, it just is what it is.
Why would that ever? What? That's never. The United States, the State Department has never let that stop them. You know, like
no.
Don't care what the people of this region think or care or want. No,
you know what it is. We want to bring them democracy and sovereignty as long as they're voting for what we tell them to.
Yes, it's the American way. You can have freedom of anything you believe in, provided it's agreed with us. Like you agree. It's like the religious right is like freedom of religion, provided you're a right-wing Christian. And even the liberals are like, we're totally open-minded to everybody's points of view, provided they agree with us. Then we love you and you can have whatever view you want.
We're open to all views as long as they're ours. Yeah. So here's where this could have been not quite a false flag, but a way of fomenting the ultimate Maidan coup and the ultimate Russian invasion, which the U.S. clearly wanted for a long time, had been planning for a long time. Odessa in Crimea became a key battleground between pro and anti-Maidan elements from the moment the protests erupted in November 2013. So this is right before the Maidan coup. Tensions came to a head on May 2nd, 2014, when fascist football ultras, who subsequently became the Azov Battalion, stormed Odessa and forced dozens of anti-Maidan activists into the trade union's house before setting it on fire. In all, 42 people were killed and hundreds injured in that fire, while Odessa's anti-Maidan movement was comprehensively neutralized. In March of that year, the European Court of Human Rights issued a damning ruling against Kiev over the massacre. So this is years later. They finally come out with a ruling against the massacre. It concluded local police and fire services deliberately failed to respond appropriately to the fire. However, that Court of Human Rights was apparently unwilling to consider the incineration of anti-Maidan activists was an intentional and premeditated act of mass murder conceived and directed by Kiev's U.S.-installed fascist government. However, the findings of the Ukrainian Parliamentary Commission point to that conclusion, that it was conceived that way, as basically a way of kicking this all off after the coup to basically further Russia's fury about what was going on. Whether
I just want to say, Lee, real quick, I just want to say that I think American-backed fascists are just better. You know, like fascists that are backed by America are just better. There's better quality fascists.
And American-backed burning people alive is it's okay. It's more freedom related, and
they were burning. They were democratically burning people alive. Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not for any burning people alive, but the U.S. backed burning people alive it's a little bit better. A little bit okay.
It's just a little bit better. It's just like when you're traveling abroad and you just want to go to a McDonald's. You know what I mean? Just because you miss home.
Perfect analogy. Whether in turn the Odessa massacre was intended to trigger Russian intervention in Ukraine, thus precipitating armed conflict of the old-fashioned sort with Moscow that Britain and the West could win, which is the exact quote from the 1957 CIA plan, is a matter of speculation. Although the Institute for Statecraft was present in the country at the time, and the CIA was present in the country at the time, which even the New York Times has admitted the CIA was operating in Ukraine in 2014. So make of that what you will.
Sounds like good old American ingenuity is what that sounds like to me, Lee. That's what it sounds like. Good old red, white, and blue know-how.
I mean, it is true. You have a leg up in a lot of these struggles if you are more sociopathic. So we've got that in spades.
It's another area we're number one in, baby. Suck it, rest of the world. We've got more sociopaths with too much power than you do.
A lot of people not willing to pull the trigger on burn a bunch of innocent people alive to try and kick off a proxy war. But we're there. We're ready to go. And also
only an American sociopath would. I was gonna say only an American sociopath would come up with that plan. Like that's
yeah. You gotta be thinking outside the box.
Well, you're merging all of these different types of fascist sociopathic behaviors. It's like rock and roll. You know what I mean? It Brown and all these different types of, you know what I mean? We created rock and roll and this type of sociopath. It's exactly what we've done.
It's exactly like rock and roll. That is so true. Getting all these sociopaths together, and as we're talking about, this is actually something I thought of earlier today. I need to write either a bit or a segment on this. It's kind of like, look, I've often said we need a sociopath test in this country, and it's not that they need to be like executed or something, but we should put them all together on like an island or something so they can't hurt the rest of us. Like just a straight up sociopath test, you put them away and something. And it occurred to me today, like, oh, we've kind of done that. We've taken all the sociopaths in the country and we just put them into the federal government. Now,
and Silicon Valley.
In Silicon Valley. Now, I don't know if that's the best place for them, but we have kind of given them a location. So
we do. Yeah, we know where they're at. They're definitely Washington, D.C. and Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
And probably a few, in Long Island. I mean,
Wall Street. Yeah.
Yeah, Wall Street. Yeah, there's definitely some in Wall Street, Lower Manhattan.
It's a handful of places. But.
And a few here in Hollywood, but they're just they're so much tamer. Their sociopathic is just about making movies. It's not like global domination.
Yeah, it's just about making movies and raping a few people. Yeah, it's
right, and having
it's tamer. Yeah.
Having tunnels under Hollywood homes and whatever, just fun kind of Disneyland.
It's fun. Let it be known. Graham called that fun.
If it wasn't for the sarcasm of this show,
it'd be unbearable.
I would nail my head to a wall with a giant-sized tack.
With a giant tack, yes. That's, initially they had wanted to put Jesus Christ up with tacks, but
but then some guys said, "Why not duct tape?"
Yeah, so ultimately they did duct tape him to the cross, but it's one of those things where the history's been altered over the years. Yeah.
All right, is that the segment?
That's what we got. Yeah.
Thank you, Lee Camp, for segment number 1, and now segment number 2, the Dawes Act of 1887. The Dawes Surveillance Act of 1887 was where the federal government said, we've mistreated Native Americans so well, we're all going to take care of you guys and it's going to be great. And that's the Dawes Act. It's a really quick one. No.
Yeah, that's the end of the story.
That's it. No. I was just looking for FBI. I just typed in FBI crimes against Native Americans. That's a long Google page. That's a long page.
And I bet the first 12 you were like, we did it.
Yeah, I was like, nah, we did this one, we did this one. But then I was like, ooh, this, because several of them referenced, they were predicated on the Dawes Act. Like that was they either took something from the Dawes. I was like, well, let's meet this guy Dawes. Who is our friend?
Yeah, he sounds like a charmer.
Oh, he was a United States Senator, Henry L. Dawes of Massachusetts. And this is Wikipedia. This is Wikipedia language, so we know how to interpret this.
So the edges are filed off.
It said the Dawes Surveillance Act of 1887 regulated land rights on tribal territories within the United States. Oh, gee, Lee, what could that be? What do you think what do you think happened?
It's good because they're a sovereign nation, right? Indigenous peoples have sovereign nations, and it makes sense we'd get to regulate their land rights. Yeah.
Absolutely. this it would subdivide Native American tribal communal land holdings into allotments for Native American heads of families and individuals. Oh, wow. That is a fancy way to say land grab. We're stealing more of your land. We already took a bunch. We're taking more.
What year was this?
This was 1887. So they dressed it up because by the late 1800s, there was some popular debate about, hey, this isn't right. What had happened back in the 1600s, the 1700s, and, you know, but as America was expanding in the late 1800s, going from an aggregate society to the Industrial Revolution was in full swing. The Civil War was 20 years over, and there was starting to be more of a move west. It was like, how do we?
Yeah, you know, back in the days when we could just put out a literal ad in the newspaper saying if you kill Native Americans, we'll give you $20 or whatever. We maybe should do it slightly differently this time around. That sounds
I'm so glad you brought up newspapers. There was a newspaper ad that said, I'll bring this up on the screen. Let me bring this up on the screen. That said, boom, Indian land for sale. There it is. We're just going to make Indian land for sale.
Literally called it Indian land. All right.
Indian land for sale. And
I'm surprised they didn't say, they didn't even go to the trouble of saying, unoccupied, vacant land for sale or something.
No. And it looks, get a home of your own, easy payments, perfect title and possession within 30 days. So this is what they did. It legally preempted the sovereign right of Indians to define themselves. It implemented a specious notion of blood quantum as the legal criteria for defining it. So what they did is,
the blood shit,
the blood quantum thing, which basically said, I'll remove, the blood quantum thing was, if you're not a pure blood of this tribe, then you don't have, despite the fact that
you get zero.
You get zero. So what it did was say, and it's like,
which is probably at that point, you're talking hundreds of years of, white people being in America. At that point, it's probably a lot of the land in a tribe is connected to someone who's not quote unquote full blood. I mean, it's all a disgusting way to analyze anything, but yeah.
Yes. And it's saying, and again, at that point, we'd already, so many tribal lands had been taken and moved around and all this other stuff. So it was like a thing that the colonizers created. It institutionalized divisions between full bloods and mixed bloods. So it also then was a good way to keep Native Americans fighting with each other.
Yep.
Saying, oh, I'm a full blood, you're not, so there's that.
And by the way, that shit still goes on today.
Of course.
Because the casino earnings and stuff are split up amongst tribes. And so you'll have huge debates as to how many ancestors or grandparents you need to have, whether they're full blood and all this. It really is sad. Yeah.
Yeah. And this was a deliberate tactic. It detribalized a sizable segment of the Indian population. One of the things that it was doing, and I'll go into read this, it was saying it wanted to split them up and put people in, and so one of these things that this was built on, and then in the late 40s or 50s, there was a thing to get Native Americans into regular American society and put them in vocational schools. But it was basically built on this foundation of destabilizing their culture, destabilizing their communities, and taking their land.
You mentioned the residential schools, which was basically ripping kids out of indigenous homes. We did a segment on it, but there's been more talk about it in Canada, but it exists in the United States as well. Rip them out of indigenous homes, put them into boarding schools where their culture is severed from them and they're raised to be Christian and all this.
This. It broke up tribes as a social unit. It encouraged individual initiatives. It secured parts of the reservations as Indian land. And then, so it said, okay, we're going to give you this land. And then the rest of the land, we're going to open that up for white settlers for profit, which is what that ad in the newspaper was.
And the white settlers did not have to prove they were full-blooded whites.
No. They were also, the act was facilitating assimilation, which they were trying to make the natives more Americanized as the government allotted the reservations and Indians adapted to subsistence farming. The primary model at the time, Native Americans held specific ideologies pertaining to tribal land. Some natives began to adapt to the culture. They adopted the values of the dominant society and saw land as real estate to be bought and to developed. They learned how to use their land effectively. Well, I mean, to be prosperous farmers, whereas, you know, their thing, like many indigenous cultures, was we don't own land. We work the land. We work in concert with the land. Yep. We use the land to sustain the next 7 generations, you know?
Yep. Yeah. So, and there was, outside of farming, there was more of there was also the culture of, you know, hunting and things like that. So you need a lot of open land to have animals to go hunting. Whereas if all that land gets cut off and given to people and now it's quote unquote private property, well, where are your hunting grounds? You know, like,
yeah, where are you grazing your cattle? Where are you, your livestock? Where are they going? You know, it's just like, and this is the other thing too. So these are some of the provisions of the Dawes Act, which I'm sure they felt like, wow, this is really great. A head of family would receive a grant of 160 acres. A single person or orphan over 18 would receive a grant of 80 acres. And a person under the age of 18 would receive 40 acres. The allotments would be held in a trust by the U.S. government for 25 years. Eligible Native Americans had 4 years to select their land. Afterward, the selection would be made for them by the Secretary of the Interior. Oh, God.
Nice.
Every member of the bands or tribes receiving a land allotment is subject to the laws of the land or territory in which they reside. Every Native American who receives a land allotment, quote, and has adopted the habits of civilized life. So that was one of the things to get the land. You had to adopt the habits of civilized life.
God, what the fuck does that mean? Does that mean you got to be practicing Christian? Does it mean you got to not do anything Native American?
Yeah, you got to waste stuff. You've got to just think about material objects. You've got to pray to some weird, mean God that's going to punish you because you like sex or something. Like, you got just all of this.
I pray to Walmart personally, but.
Yes, thank you, Lee. Finally, that's such a spiritual place, Walmart.
It is. Yeah.
I just think of all the mom and pop businesses that have been put out of work, and I just feel like a warmth.
Well, that's because the one true God consumes the small or not legitimate gods.
Yes, the one true God of the United States dollar, which is awesome. And I love that there's an Illuminati symbol on the back of the $1 bill. That makes me feel like warm. That makes me.
You know, they're thinking of adding Epstein to the $5, which I fully support.
Oh, and it's just, and there's just like a missing 3 minutes of the tape or whatever on it.
I only learned the other day that. So there's 1 minute missing, but there's also actually 3 minutes missing because it was sliced out and then something else was put back. But then on top of that, the staircase to Epstein, which is like in the back corner of that camera view, you actually only see the slight edge of the left side of the staircase that goes to his cell. So literally someone could walk into that room, walk up those stairs as long as they stayed on the right side of the stairs and would never be seen in the camera. So the camera actually proves nothing, even if there weren't a minute missing.
And I gotta believe a professional intelligence agent, assassin would probably know that.
But might know where the camera angles are. Yeah, yeah.
Might have access to go, oh, just sneak up against this wall and you'll get them.
Just lean right when you walk up the stairs. That's all you got to do.
Up the stairs like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here's another great thing. The Secretary of the Interior could issue rules to assure equal distribution of water for irrigation among the tribes and provide that no other appropriation or grant of water by any riparian proprietor shall be authorized or permitted to the damage of any other riparian proprietor. So again, they gave you land, they could take it away, they controlled the water rights, and then a bunch of then they took the majority of the land and let white settlers take it.
Yep. But you know what? I bet I will say this. I bet when the white settlers showed up to those areas of the country, I bet they treated their native neighbors real well. Just like the best neighbors you can imagine.
Yes. And they weren't just like, gee, I hope they're civilized. Like,
no.
Here comes the civilized white people that are just like the brutal. And you know what, man? They did this like the English did this to the Irish. The Irish they controlled Ireland for 700 years. Ireland was. I'm reading more and more of this about my ancestors' heritage. Before they brought in the colonizer religions of Catholicism and Protestantism, Ireland, like a lot of indigenous cultures, used island mysticism. It had the Druids. It believed the plants had different lives and personalities, and they worked in concert with the land. And then it's like they went, wow, these people are too in touch with the land, too spiritual. We gotta knock this shit out of there. You know what I mean? We gotta get rid of this and just force some nonsense on them. And then after this act was the Curtis Act of 1898, the Burke Act, which just gave more, monkeyed with the citizenship and land. A lot of Native Americans was taken out of the trust and subject to taxation. You couldn't leave some of the land, in inheritance and stuff like that. It was pretty, it was great. And as I said, the Dawes Act ultimately ended Native American communal holding of property, with cropland often being privately owned by families or clans, by which they had ensured that everyone had a home and a place in the tribe. That is why these capitalists are so angry at socialism, because it was like, whoa, everyone's taken care of. There's an old adage in Native American culture of, if you want to find the chief's teepee, it's the teepee with the least amount of stuff, because the chief gives all of his stuff away to take care of his tribe. That's what an effective leader is.
Yeah, and I had thought and mentioned this before, and I don't study, Native American history enough, or even U.S. history enough to know whether this is a large factor, small factor. But it's like, you can't, if you come into a country or an area, genocide the people, and then push them off to a certain portion of the country, you can't really have them behaving in a completely separate way. So you have cutthroat capitalism with most of the, non-native people living poverty lives. And then they look over the ridge and they see the Native American reservation where everybody's, taken care of. There's more equality. There's an agreement amongst, the tribe, the group of people, that everyone will be taken care of there. And you can't really have that going on and expect the people in gripping poverty, gut-wrenching poverty, that are not Native Americans to not start going, well, wait, what are they doing? What if can we try it that way? And so it's like they kind of had to find a way to shut down the communalism, the socialism of Native American life to some degree.
Because you're right. Most human beings would see that and go, well, this is way better than like just individually fighting for myself. And I got to fight for everything. Yeah. Like, and so there has to be, so we have to demonize them and make them savages, and they're going to come get your women and whatever else. And like, because you lose the majority of the population when they're all taken care of, when they're all like, wait a minute, if we all work together, you can't, there's no profit in that. You can't exploit that. So you have to get people in this. Capitalism is so great. It's like when I listen to working class American people be all socialism, I'm like, you'd have a better life. You'd have
a better life. And even the people who have bought into all the propaganda and grown up in capitalism never once question it. If you ask them whether they like Social Security or Social Security for their parents, or if they like the fire department, or if they I don't love it, but if they like the military that their tax dollars pay for, they generally say, yeah. And so you're like, well, all those things are the socialist aspects of our capitalist society. Like they're the remnants, public schools. They're the remnants of socialism in a capitalist structure.
Yeah. Yep. And so this was, it amended, it ended communal holding of property. The act was a culmination of American attempts to destroy tribes and their governments and to open Indian lands to settlement by non-Indians and the development by railroads. There, of course, we talked about the railroad. We've done that on the show. Land owned by Native Americans decreased from 138 million acres in 1887 to 48 million acres in 1934.
So they knocked out that's over 2/3, right? It's like 3/4 of it or something.
Yep, pretty much. I mean,
that's impressive. Under the guise of just like, oh, we're just restructuring things.
And there was one senator, Henry M. Teller of Colorado, was an outspoken opponent of allotment. In 1881, he said that allotment was a policy to despoil the Indians of their lands and to make them vagabonds on the face of the earth. Teller also said the real aim of allotment was to get at the Indian lands and open them up to settlement. The provisions for the apparent benefit of the Indians are but the pretext to get the lands and occupy them. If this were done in the name of greed, it would be bad enough, but to do it in the name of humanity is infinitely worse. So one guy spoke up.
Yeah, it's nice that one dude did.
One dude spoke up. So that is the Dawes Act of 1887, Lee. Very exciting.
I like Dawes. Dawes is doing it.
Way to go.
Right. Yeah.
So folks, we're going to jump on over to patreon.com/government secrets, where you can support the shows for as little as $5. You can get this amazing Government Secrets mug that we're showing on the video. If you're listening to this, it's the only place where you can get the Government Secrets logo and a sticker on a shirt or a mug, and you support everything that we're doing. We've been so censored and demonetized. It's almost impossible for us to get advertisers on this show because of what we talk about, unless we get like a VPN company or something like that. So
yeah, you can get the Government Secrets ass tattoo as well, but that's $1,000 tier, so I don't think anyone's got that yet.
We haven't done any of that. So really, this show is only supported by you, the listeners and the viewers. So if you can go over there and support us for as little as $5 a month, we would greatly, greatly appreciate it.
So we'll see everybody over there in a second at patreon.com/government secrets. I also just put out a new column, top 11 signs that Israel is collapsing, over at my Substack. So if you need some good news, if you're looking for good news, go over to substack.com/@realleecamp, or the other one is realleecamp.substack.com, I think. And you can get the new column. You can read it for free over there.
Thanks, everybody. And like I said, I started a new channel, Bitcoin Hollywood. It's youtube.com/@Bitcoin Hollywood. We're going to be doing more entertainment, travel. It's not exclusively Bitcoin focused, but I'm going to be doing more travel videos because I'm going to be going through Asia doing shows. And I got a new book that's coming out soon that will be available as an ebook, a physical book, and an audio book. I'm recording the audio. The audio book will be a lot of fun because I'm adding a lot of just jokes and riffing to it as I'm reading the text. So just check that out, subscribe, and then join the grandmelwood.com newsletter. I send out a newsletter like every couple of months. I will not clutter your inbox. So
the last one was in 2021, and
like literally, I think February or March, I might have sent one out. I want to be honest. So do that, and then go on over to patreon.com/government secrets right now.
All right, see you over there.
This has been Government Secrets, episode 186. Over 100 years of trying to steal Ukraine and the Dawes Act, lying once again to Native Americans in the greatest country in the world, the United States. Beep, beep.
Later.
Thanks, everybody.